Can you say your name?
Anthony King.
Okay, Anthony, where are we at right now?
We are at the Washington United Youth Center here in San Jose, California.
Okay.
For the U.S. Social Forum.
Beautiful. Can you tell PNN-TV listeners and viewers about what I consider a racist and classist term for basically a bunch of houseless folks trying to get some rest, but anyway, about what happened to the jungle and sort of what that even was.
What the jungle was a homeless encampment off of Center and Story Road here in San Jose. It was located along a creek bed, part of the Coyote Creek. The encampment got infamy by being one of the largest encampments in the country. At its height, it had somewhere upwards of 400 to 450 people living there. In December 4th or 8th of last year, the city of San Jose came in and closed the encampment. It was a really rainy day. And at the time that they did it, they knew, well, when they began this endeavor back in March or April, they knew they had more than 400 people there, but they had secured only 200 vouchers to house those people. And that was their plan, to house, open up shelter beds for these people, motel vouchers for some of them. And when it all came down to it, that when they were said and done, they were able to stably house 175 people out of the 200 vouchers they had. It's not aware how many numbers of the people actually got motel vouchers, how many actually went and stayed at the shelter, because the city and its contractor service providers say that's private information under HMIS.
Wow.
What is known is, like you heard one of the persons from Occupy talking about the Housing First model. The Housing First model is a great model, but it doesn't have follow through. Usually what happens in the Housing First model is there's a classism played where they mine, when they first go out and do this outreach and engagement, they mine for people like, oh, okay, this person is probably having all these different issues. He probably won't be housing ready at this time. And they can't say that, and they can't divert him into places to help him because they're using this Housing First model. So what they do is they skip over him in some kind of triage process that's not thoroughly explained, and then they pick someone else. And that person is a person they feel that they will be able to house easily because of their criminal or rental history or lack of history. Once they house that person, what you usually see from the non-governmental organizations who are tasked with homelessness issues here in our region is they leave the person there. They may come back for, once a month to give out a food box, but they don't do the things like steer them toward harm reduction, behavior classes, or things like that. Certain things that are going to ensure that they're also growing as a person, but also growing, I call it basically a home ec class. Stuff that's going to teach them to be able to teach and self-sufficiency, how to buy food, how to deal with issues that may occur, like, medical or mental health or addiction health or stuff like that. Things that people are going to need to grow and to be able to stay in their apartment and be able to come back, reabsorb themselves into society. And you see people they just drop the ball. And myself and my colleague Robert, we see there was a woman who was housed at the jungle. First, the nonprofits didn't want to admit she existed. There was a interviewer from CNN that came out here looking for families living in the jungle. Went to all the nonprofits, Home First, Downtown Streets Team, Destination Homes. Oh no, there's no kids living in the jungle. So they went to Debug, and Debug put them in touch with me, and the next day we met at the jungle. Bow, here's a family right there. So they did, this is CNN. They did a news article with them, followed them around, went to their case management group, which was Downtown Streets Team, one of the groups that said, oh no, there's no families living out here. Went down there, showed her, and she got into a place. She actually did get housed. But once Downtown Streets Team housed her, they were hands off. They didn't come back and do what I call aftercare,
right,
and steer her in the direction of harm reduction, techniques, and she wound up losing her apartment a few months later. Not only did she lose her apartment, but Downtown Streets team dropped her as a client, and then she wound up losing her voucher. So
can you tell viewers and listeners, and I know this story's got another end to it, but I'm wondering if you could talk about what the police did after the NGOs and the NPICs did their little social work outreach.
Basically, what we're seeing now that the jungle is closed, the city's a sub-department of the city's housing department, the homeless response team, using the police as a tool, are starting to doggedly prevent encampments of more than 4 or 5 people being visible in anywhere in our city. What you see is police officers harassing, I'm not going to say all police officers, but there are police officers who are harassing people who are pushing shopping carts. Hey, you got a shopping cart that's theft, you need to empty it right now. And once they empty it and the cart retrieval company comes and gets it, oh, you got all this garbage on the ground, you got a half hour to pick it up, or I'm giving you a ticket for littering or illegal dumping. The city has been really dogged at making sure that something like the jungle doesn't re-exist, really reapproach. But the thing about it is, the city itself has admitted that it doesn't have enough affordable housing stock to house all the people that are living in the city.
Right.
All the homeless people that are living in the city.
Right.
But what the city is really resisting is a sanctioned legal encampment. And that includes, all the sanitary needs like porta potties, portable showers, water, garbage pickup.
And I ask you, as a fellow poverty scholar, someone who's dealt with houselessness yourself, who I would consider an expert, do you think there should be a legalized encampment?
First and foremost, I've lived in camps of all types, under the freeways, near the train tracks, off the river. No, I don't believe in camps. What I believe is that everybody should have their own apartment. But I'm pragmatic enough to realize right now in this county, in this city, there aren't enough apartments. Even now, even with inclusionary being improved, there's still not enough apartments for the voucher holders. I figure off the top of my head, there's at least 500 people that have vouchers right now, at least, that can't find places outside the homeless community. I'm talking about these are people in shelters of different types, vets and stuff like that.
Right. Okay.
So right now the city has to just admit we don't have enough affordable housing stock. We have the state and the federal government breathing down our neck about the way our waterways, our natural waterways, are being polluted with man-made materials. I'm not talking about feces and defecation. I'm talking about building materials, because people naturally tend to live on those rivers because they have good cover. What we need to do now, and what our elected officials need to do, and the policymakers within City Hall, just admit we don't have all the answers we need to house people first.
Right.
So we need to think of a housing people's, a temporary stopgap, and that's a legal encampment. Someplace, I'm not talking about an internment camp, I'm not talking about these FEMA camps that you see, these hoaxes on the internet. I'm talking about a legal place where that, like I said, at the porta potties, the water, the shower, the garbage pickup, trailers where places like faith-based groups can come to feed, case managers from the nonprofits can come to reach out to their clients. You don't know how many case managers I've seen crying about, oh, I can't find my client because their cat got swept. If you provided someplace stable, and I'm still in the middle of researching this, but I believe the emergency shelters grants, a HUD grant that's given to shelters, can be used to make these camps grow.
Okay.
I'm still checking on that, but I think it can be used, and I think that's the kind of outside the box thinking we need.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about these are, the answer to housing.
Right.
I'm talking about this is the answer until housing. And then you make those programs attached to the camps. If you got like 200 vouchers you're giving out, you put 100 of them into that camp.
All right. Beautiful.